What if the goal that feels most out of reach, the one that you have quietly carried for years but never seriously pursued because it just seems too big, too far, too unlikely? What if that was actually the most important goal you could set? Not because you're guaranteed to achieve it, but because of who you become in the pursuit of it. Today, I want to talk about impossible goals and why the ones worth chasing are the ones worth failing for. Welcome to your daily hit of grace and grit, your quick dose of inspiration to kickstart your day. I'm Courtney Townley, and here is today's hit. So yesterday we talked about the fear of success and the fear of failing. And today's almost an extension of that. It's a concept that I learned years ago from a mentor of mine, Brooke Castillo, actually. And I teach it every year inside of my community because I'm such a fan of the concept. It's called an impossible goal. And an impossible goal is not just a big goal. It is a goal that feels genuinely out of reach given who you are right now. The kind of goal where you think, if I'm being honest, I don't even know where I would begin. There's just too much I'd have to learn, too much I'd have to change, too much standing between me and that thing. That feeling of overwhelm, it's not a sign the goal is wrong. It's a sign the goal is real. Because here's what I've come to learn. The goals that feel impossible are impossible for the current version of you. But the pursuit of them creates a different version of you. One who is more skilled, more resilient, more capable, more confident, not because she achieved the goal necessarily, but because she was willing to go after it. The goal is not the point. The person you become in pursuit of it is the point. So, I've had lots of impossible goals in my life, and I hope that I have them for the rest of my life. I already have more impossible goals like brewing inside of me right now. But for a long time, as many of you know, I wanted to write a book, right? The desire lived in me for decades. Truly. I loved writing in high school. I was almost a double major in college. I almost got a second degree in English Lit, but I didn't get that second degree, just a couple credits short. But I've always loved to write. There's always been a book in me. There's probably a lot of books in me. But I didn't know how to do it, right? I didn't know if anyone would ever read a book that I wrote. I didn't know if I was good enough or if my writing was good enough. But I knew it was something eventually worth failing for because it wouldn't leave, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? That persistent idea that inspires you, but you're kind of annoyed by it because it just feels so lofty. You're not going to go after it. At least you don't think you are, but it just keeps knocking. And because a book kept knocking for me, I started making some small decisions around it. And I just gently started moving in that direction. And it took me a lot of years. It took me 10 years of living ideas within my professional life before I started writing my book. 5 years of actual writing because I was playing the game that we all play, which is, this isn't good enough. And what I now know, having come to the other side, is that the book changed me long before it was finished, right? The pursuit of it made me a better thinker, a better teacher, a more disciplined and devoted version of myself. And even if this book had never been published, the person I became in writing it would have been worth every moment. That is the gift of an impossible goal. It's not the destination, it's not the outcome, it's the transformation that happens along the way. So why do most people never go after the thing that truly lights them up? The thing that keeps knocking? Well, because impossible goals require you to be a beginner. And being a beginner is uncomfortable, especially when you've been adulting for a long time. It requires tolerating not knowing, not being good yet, looking foolish, making mistakes in public. Our egos resist it fiercely. Impossible goals also require a different relationship with failure. Most of us have been conditioned to avoid failure at all costs, to only pursue things that we have a reasonable chance of achieving. An impossible goal, by definition, carries a significant risk of not working out. And most people are not willing to sign up for that. But I want to offer you a reframe, okay? Failure on the way to an impossible goal is not the same as failure on your way to a safe one. When you fail chasing something that truly matters to you, something you were willing to look foolish for, to work for, to change for, that failure is full of information, full of growth, full of a kind of dignity that playing it safe will never give you. You could also think of it this way: an impossible goal is a compass, not a contract. You do not sign a binding agreement with the universe that you will achieve this thing. Okay? You simply decide that the direction it points you in is worth walking towards. And then you start making small decisions, one at a time, without needing to see the whole path. You become the kind of person who would eventually get there if you kept going. So I want you to ask yourself, what would that person know that I don't know yet? What would she have done that I haven't done yet? What habits, skills, beliefs, and relationships would she have built? So when I was thinking of myself as a published author, right? Yeah, asking myself those questions gave me a lot of great intel. And then I started acting on that intel. I started making those connections. I started building those skill sets and those beliefs. I started doing those things that my published self would have already done. You don't pursue an impossible goal because you're certain of the outcome. Right? Again, you pursue an impossible goal because the building itself is the work and the reward. You will change in amazing ways, regardless if you achieve the thing or not. Every December, I teach a masterclass around this exact concept, helping people identify the impossible goal worth chasing and start taking small steps toward it. Because I believe deeply that most of us are capable of so much more than we have been attempting, for the reasons that I talked about in the last episode, right? The fear of failure and or the fear of success. We just need permission to go after that thing that feels too big. So consider this your permission. You don't need to know how. You don't have to be ready. You do not have to have a guarantee. You just need to decide that something is worth failing for. And then start taking action based on the intel that the version of you who's already accomplished that thing has for you. I promise the pursuit will change you. And that changed person, the more capable, more confident, more fully herself version, it's the whole point. So what might be your impossible goal? What is one small decision you can make today to just inch a little bit closer to that? If this stirred something inside of you, imagine what a whole book of clarity and courage could ignite. The Consistency Code, a midlife woman's guide to deep health and happiness, goes even deeper into the mindset and practices that create real, meaningful change at midlife. Grab your copy today over at theconsistencycode.com and keep the momentum alive.